Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Yashi Tiwari, Assistant Professor from Department of Commerce. Today in this lecture, I have come across a difficult, rather I must not say difficult because I will be making it easy for you. We will coming across with the topic of mutual funds, something very well known, quite commonly used, right. So, in this particular lecture, we will be covering the meaning, the features of mutual funds, how do mutual funds work, that is their modus operandi, the types of mutual funds. We will in this video be focusing towards a specific type of mutual fund, and finally, we will be going ahead to conclude our topic. To begin with, what do we mean by mutual fund? Before that, I would like to give a short example to you. Just for example, you have to commute from Bhopal to Indore. Now, to commute or rather to go from one city to another, we have various options available. For example, let us take option 1, I can drive on my own. When I drive on my own, my speed limit will be decided by my own self. How many halts I have to take in between, decided by me. What is the time or duration I will be covering the distance, again decided by me. On the contrary, option number 2 available with me is I can ask somebody who is an expert in driving to take me from Bhopal to Indore again, but in this case I will be giving him my objectives that I have to reach at this particular time. Second, I want these many halts in between. Third, I want such kinds of speed to be followed. Okay. Now, with this particular example, I will take you forward towards the meaning. Like in this, what I did, I actually gave it to somebody else, or rather an expert or a professional who will work it out for me, stating my own objectives. Similarly, coming on to the meaning now, it is actually an investment vehicle wherein the pool of funds are collected from various individuals for the purpose of investment in stock, bonds or various other options. So, what are we doing here? We are actually asking a professional to manage it for us. Coming on to the features of mutual funds. The first is mobilizing small savings. Definitely a fund which is lying idle with an investor, it is better to mobilize it into profitable spheres. Next, we talk about investment avenue. Absolutely, mutual fund is one of the very good investment avenue, or rather you can say an option for investment which lies with the investors to act upon. Next, we come on to professional management. When I say professional management, I drive you back to the example which I stated initially. What I did, I actually took option 2, right, giving it out to a professional who will handle it out for me. Okay, here also I am giving it out to a professional, stating my objectives. Next, I come to diversified investment. As we read it in the meaning, that pool of funds will be applied to either stocks, debts, money market instruments, etc., etc. So, you will be having a diversified portfolio, better liquidity. Very true, in mutual funds helps you to convert yourselves, or rather I must say it in a proper professional terms, to liquidate your funds which you have invested. It does not take a lot of time for the investor. Last, reduced risk. I should not say last, but not the least. Okay. When I say reduced risk, I again come back and drive you to a point of diversified investments. Again, when you have a diversified pools of investment, your risk is reduced and also diversified. It completely depends on the objective of the investor. Moving ahead on how does mutual fund work, but before this slide, I would drag you to my next slide wherein a graph or a diagram portrays the same. As we see, there is an investor who is actually doing what? Pooling their money. With whom? the fund manager. We have talked multiple times about the professional management, that is when we call them the fund managers. What do these people do? They further invest it in securities. Now, securities here may consist of stocks, bonds, instruments, etc. Finally, the revenue generated or the income generated, that is returns, is given back to the investor. Circular motion. Coming back now to the text, to my previous slide, let us read and we can very easily relate with what just we saw. Each fund chosen and monitored by professional, very true, we saw that. Professionals are called fund manager, we know that. Portfolio could consist of stock, bonds, instruments, yes, when we talk about securities. As an investor, you own mutual fund, not the individual securities, very true. You actually do what? You invest your money, you have been given individual units. Now, how those units are calculated is yet another different criteria, which we will be discussing probably in next consecutive lectures. And last but not the least, objective or rather the goal of the investment lies completely towards the investment objectives of the investor. Always remember. Moving ahead on types of mutual funds. As I said, broadly classifying based on asset class, that is debt, equity, hybrid, based on investment objective, that is growth, income, liquid and tax saving funds. Lastly, based on structure, open-ended and closed-ended. So, one of the feature that we took, liquidity, is somewhat related to based on structure kind of mutual funds. When we will go deep into detail of this, each and everything will be crystal clear. Moving ahead on types of funds based on asset class. As I said, today in this particular lecture, we will be focusing on only one broader category, that is asset class, talking about debt, equity and hybrid. Coming on to debt funds, which are also known as fixed income funds. Herein, the funds aim to offer a reasonable return to investor at a considerably relatively less risk. So, any investor whose risk appetite is moderate to low is always advised to go for a debt fund. Advised by whom? Definitely the fund manager. Okay. So, here you invest in government securities, corporate bonds, etc., wherein again your motto or your objective of investment can also be to have a steady income. Moving ahead to the next is equity funds. Compared to debt, equity funds are highly risky, as we can say they have a higher degree of risk with them. Reason? Because these are completely market linked, and as we know and as we have seen, market is very volatile. So, it keeps on fluctuating from time to time. So, somebody whose risk appetite is very low, they are never advised to go for an equity fund. Definitely for somebody who wants to invest for a longer period of time, that is looking for a long term goal, right, or a long term investment such as retirement planning, etc., can or may opt for equity funds. The last but not the least, my risk appetite is neither too low nor too high, right. My investment, I want them to be safe, but then also I want good returns. What to do in such a case? The best option is to go for a hybrid fund, wherein we invest in both equity and fixed income security, again giving you a diversified exposure. All right. Coming on to conclude today's lecture, they are an excellent option for investment, very true. Why? Because they give you a diversified portfolio, very well understood. Till now we have been very much averse with these terms, we know these terms well, but it is very important to carefully select, because it all depends on your investment needs. As we all know that they are subject to market risk, and you should read all scheme related documents carefully. So, this was all on the first part of the lecture. Stay tuned for the upcoming lectures and gain more insights towards the topic. Thank you.